All right.
Hey man, you know how it is. Started off like we always started off, man.
Yes,
man.
sir. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Athlete's Vision, where I am Mike Nunnally.
And I'm Tyler Benson.
Hey, well, look, we are here. Really simple. We're going to keep it real short and sweet. We are here to bring you the untold stories of the young athletes that's trying to make a mark in this world of sports, you know?
Yep. And every episode, we're going to try and take a deep dive into an athlete's life, how they got to where they are, how they got to where they are now, and kind of all the in-betweens from there. So, yeah,
So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it up a little bit and I'll switch it up. Like on the last episode, I'll let people know, a little bit about my journey in the sports world. So now we're going to tap into, the other person right here, Tyler Benson, and we're going to touch on his story a little bit to bring y'all into his lives and let y'all understand why he has decided to do what he does, right? So Tyler, man, we're not going to, hold them hostage anymore. We're going to let the world know who Tyler Benson is. So if you don't mind, I'm going to navigate this as much as possible. I'm going to try to narrate as smooth as I can with you, man. Been knowing you for a long time, but let people understand that journey, man, like who Tyler Benson is, man.
Started off, grew up in Colorado Springs, born and lived there till like 4th, 5th grade. While I was there, I played soccer. I played soccer for a long time. I was actually a goalkeeper for a little while there. Crazy. But I used to play soccer there. Loved soccer. I mean, I started playing soccer when I was like, it was early, like 2, 3, something like that. Really, really young. While I was out there as well in Colorado, it's a crazy active place. It's much different than Virginia. Like Colorado's like everybody be doing something like all the time. So I was also part of like a running club when I was in like 3rd grade, something like that. So I did a little running. Dabbled in it. It was like distance running. I never raced or anything like that, but I was part of that. But always as a kid, I was always active. Like I was riding my bike around. I remember me and my friends used to ride our bikes, jump them off little ramps and everything like that. But yeah, so did that. Then I moved to Virginia. That drive sucked. It was like 4 days, man. When I was a kid, but I literally never thought that drive was gonna end, bro. Oh my god. We got here, moved to Warrenton. And immediately found a soccer team. I was playing in a rec program for a little while. And then I did like an all-star team.
Yeah, I got you.
And then from that all-star team, a couple of the people that I was playing with on the all-star team decided to make a travel program. And they're like, yo, Tyler, like, you should come and join. I was like, I don't really know. And then next thing happens, and I ended up on a travel team. And so I played travel soccer for like 3-4 years, something like that. Pretty much from like 5th grade to freshman year of high school.
Okay.
And through that process, a lot of different, a ton of soccer. Soccer is my favorite sport, obviously. I also played a little bit of basketball, like a tiny bit of basketball back in the day. Like I was never good, but I was playing that joint, you know what I'm saying? And then I did a little bit of track. I didn't even know what track was, but like my grandma had found this like thing. It was like called like Hershey Track and Field or something like that, and they had like just a couple like regional events. So I ran I ran the 200 and the 100. So, but yeah, man, sports have been my life, my whole life. So
like as you said, you felt that love for soccer at a very young age, right?
Yeah,
so it's crazy because you know what type of talent that you are, right?
Yeah.
What made you like stop playing soccer? Because the way you said it, I can tell that it came a point that you stepped away from soccer.
Yeah.
So, like, explain that. Tap in on that for me for a little bit.
Yeah. So, freshman year of high school, so I played, like, middle school soccer. I played travel while I was in middle school. Like, soccer was my thing. And then freshman year of high school, there came a point where I got invited to a thing called ODP, Olympic Development Program for Soccer.
Okay.
And freshman year of high school, I did what, like, most people on the soccer team were doing, or any sports team, was like, I just did winter track. I was like, all right, I'll do winter track, whatever. And it ended up going really well. I ended up going to state meet my freshman year, varsity, the whole 9, whatever. I was pretty good. I ran the 300. I remember my very first track meet. I ran at Brentsville. I ran the 500. And I tripped my teammate in the middle of it, and it was rough. But yeah, so it ended up going really well indoor. and then my track coaches were like, you know, you should really like consider running track. I was like, yeah, and then also, this is a story that a lot of people know, but like there's this dude, his name was Chuck, and he owned a running store in town in Warrenton, and he would like announce some of the track meets and everything like that. And so like he like kind of spotted me one of the early first home meets that we had, and was like, yo, like come to the running store. And I was like, all right, cool. So me and my grandma went to the running store, and he like got me hooked up with my first pair of like track spikes. Mind you, like I didn't know anything about track.
You was running without track spikes.
I had no idea. I was running in basketball. I was running hyper dunks, 2013, blue and white. Man, those were fire. But that's what I was running in. Like I was doing track to get ready for soccer. Like that was my whole plan. I knew all the soccer coaches, all that stuff. And so yeah, Chuck was like, yeah, man, come to the running store. I was like, all right, cool. So we pulled up. He's like, he gave me a pair of spikes. Didn't have to pay for them or anything. I was like, what's going on? And he was just like, yeah, man, I believe in you. Like he's like, I think you can go far in track. I was like, all right, cool. So he gave me a pair of spikes. I'll never forget them. They're these gold spikes. I felt like I was the man. I was running around in those things. They were fire. And so then spring comes, and again, like I'm met with this crossroads. It's like, do I do like stay with soccer? Like that was the plan. I was gonna go Olympic development. I was gonna play on the varsity team. Like I had all these things ready for me in soccer. But then my track coaches, and then I had Chuck in my corner as well. And then my coach back then, his name was Coach Shep, and without him, and then without two of my best friends, Ed and Frank in particular, I probably wouldn't be running track right now.
I got you.
But they all kind of were like, yo, like you should do this. Like you're good at this. Like like we see a future for you in this. And so I was like, all right, you know, let's do it. And it was kind of like history ever since. Like started running track, and here we are.
So, but it's crazy that you say that, right? Because most people know that the sport that you love can be in the sport that you're good at same season.
It's crazy, bro. It's
right?
Nuts. Yeah, like
so
it's nuts.
Not saying, because I mean I've watched you play soccer, man. Like not only your speed, but your intelligence on the field is crazy. That's the reason why, you know, once again, you can hear us say it a lot of time. Like I'm the head coach at Brentsville District High School. Yeah. Coach Tyler is a coach over at Fauquier High School at soccer. Yep. So you can hear us like tell you guys about our journey on the way to how we got to that point. It's funny because knowing how good you were at soccer, right, but knowing how good you were becoming in track, right. How did you able to, like, even though the love was here, not loving it here, but just good at it, right? Yeah. How did you stop loving something but pursue something, you know, that you was good at, and without going back? You know what I mean?
Nah, that's funny that you mentioned that. So like you said, like I loved soccer. Soccer was my love. Like that's in my head. Like ever since I was a kid, like I'm playing soccer. Like I wanted to go to the MLS. I wanted to be on the Olympic team. Like all that stuff. Like that was my goal. And so then when track came along, like again, I was good, and I think it was the people in my corner to keep people kind of pushing me towards that. And also the opportunities that I had in soccer to still stay connected with the sport. So as soon as I was like, all right, I guess we're doing track, immediately I started coaching. I coached a U8 team with a dude named Pat Nye. He got me into coaching. I still see him to this day. He actually takes pictures at our Fauquier game. So it's kind of a full circle moment for me. But so yeah, he got me into coaching literally freshman year of high school. Because his daughter and my sister played on the same team, and then he had the 08 team, and he was like, yo, like you trying to, I was like, yeah, sure. And so I coached, I reffed, I even lined the fields. Like I worked for the club. I lined the fields. I brought the goals out. So I was still very involved in soccer.
Still a part of it.
I just wasn't playing. And so that was like kind of my way to stay in touch with soccer, and I missed it like crazy. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, again, like I was good at track, but I was never in love with track the way I was in love with soccer. Sense. It's just a fact. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, and track took me crazy places. We'll talk about it later. But like I definitely missed soccer every single day, and still did, even when I was in college. And so like being able to coach was huge for me. Reffing, it was all right, but like being able to coach in particular was huge for me, and it really was able to keep me kind of on track.
But I mean, that's crazy, because I mean, you started that coaching journey at a young age, and, you know, just to drive your leadership. So it's one quality that I love about you, man, is your leadership, right? Your ability to motivate, it's insane. Like, I mean, it's
Appreciate it.
crazy insane, right? I mean,
Yeah, nah.
you know, understanding that we're gonna tap in on your high school career, right? You know, get that track,
Yeah.
that track career started, right?
Yeah.
I can see and I can tell that by loving a sport that you had to give up, it made your drive that much more stronger at a sport that you was good at, right? Because track is not an easy sport, by the way. It is not. It's no way, shape, or form an easy sport, right? I mean, I took my hat to everybody that gets out there and run track, you know, because those workouts they're not easy. You know, you take someone like me.
We tried it.
Yeah,
We
it
took it.
didn't go well. It didn't go well, but you know. I want to tap into that, man, because you know you going into your freshman year, you know, knowing that the guys that you see that's playing a sport that you love not better than you, right? And I know that they're not better than you, but you was humble enough to not say, well, I know I'm better than y'all, loudly, you know. So, and the thing that I want to say to you is like, it's crazy, like, you know, you can be a great athlete at one sport.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And not even play that sport.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So what triggered you, not the guy that worked in the store, what was his name again?
Chuck.
Not Chuck that worked in the store. But let's talk about your family ties, right? To be able to have that support, to be able to push you, you know, to drive you there. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, yeah. So like I definitely like my grandparents. I grew up with my grandparents for the most part. Mm-hmm. They were always supportive. Like, that's one of the things that I always credit them for the most is like I was able to make decisions on my own. I was able to do what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And so like when this decision came up, like they weren't pushing me one way or the other. Like they obviously knew I loved soccer, and that was an option. But they also knew I loved track. So they're like, look, well they knew I was good at track. So they're like, whatever you decide, like go for it. And like that's really big for me, and it's set me on a path for the rest of my life that like is very important to me, is my independence and being able to make those decisions. And so like I feel like they set me up for that. Gotcha. And so like it kind of started with that decision. Like they could have very easily been like, we've put thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into soccer. We've put years of our lives traveling to different, like all over the country, like all these things, like for you to just go do a track, right? So like that was huge for them to allow me to kind of do that, because I don't know, it was a really big growing point for me. And then like the reason why I think I was successful in track, there's several reasons, but like having to give up soccer, giving up the sport that I love for a sport that I was very good at, made failing in track not an option. Okay. I could not fail in track because then I would have regrets. Like I should have just done soccer. Like I know I could have done well in soccer. And so that kind of drove me, like my work ethic, like it just helped me. Like that, along with, again, my two best friends, Ed and Frank, like without them, early on in high school, like they wanted, it's funny because they wanted me to run the mile. Like they always said, like I came out for sprints because like, nah, I'm a sprinter. They're like, nah, go run the mile. I was like, nah, I'm not running the mile, bro. Like, I'm a sprinter, like 100%. And so, but like without them, like early freshman year, like those were my best friends. Like we used to work out. Summer workouts would be crazy. Like it would be us three out there, just going as hard as possible. And they were 2 years older than me. So, like when my junior year came, when they left, and my old coach, Coach Shep, had left as well. Like it was very difficult for me to kind of find it within myself.
Yeah. But, so tap in on that, right? So you got guys that you have built this bond with, right? Yeah. Brotherhood, right? Yeah, you know, big shout outs to Frank and Ed, man. Like two cool dudes, man, that I had got to meet, playing spike ball and all that stuff with. So two cool guys, man. But at the end of the day, man, that bond and that brotherhood that you built with them, right? Yeah. And explain, that process going into your, you're a sophomore and you're going into your junior year, losing two guys that pretty much your training partners, like the guys that motivated you, and they didn't look at you as someone that was younger just because of your mindset. Like your mindset was already 2 years ahead, right? And you're gonna hear me say this a lot. I always tell kids when coaching basketball, like you want your skill set to be 2 years ahead of your time. Yeah. Because if you in a freshman in high school, you got to be able to compete with those juniors and seniors. 100%. So when you're a sophomore, you got to be able to compete with the juniors and seniors. Yeah. So 2 years ahead of your time, now you're preparing for college, right? Yeah. 100%. So going into sophomore, junior year,
Yeah.
right? So that sophomore year, what kind of season with that, knowing that your best friends was ready to leave school? So how was that?
I mean, I was a 400, 200 runner in high school, but I also did long jump. I did the 100. I was mix of everything, but we were the three of us were all 400-meter runners, and then with our friend Raul Chavez, it's funny, Raul, he was on my soccer team, the very first soccer team I ever was on when we here. And the thing, I will never forget it. Like, that dude was so fast, bro. And, like, we would be in practice, and I would be so mad because he was faster than me. Like, I always looked up to Raul. Like, he was my dude. And then we ended up running in high school together. And, like, yeah, I've probably known him, like, in and around the circle for the longest out of everybody. He was on my very first soccer team when I moved here. But, yeah, so the four of us were on the team. So, like, I mean, freshman year, outdoor, we made it to nationals for the 4x4. I made it to nationals for the freshman 400. I got to race with if you're in the track community. I mean, I raced against Noah Lyles, Josephus Lyles, Grant Holloway, all these literal world champion athletes. It's ridiculous. But that's kind of set the tone. And then so like every year, like it was me, Ed, and Frank, and like we went to 4x4 nationals indoor. The next year, my sophomore year. Outdoor, we went back to nationals as well. We had a bunch of again, just the work ethic, the prestige that we were trying to leave with the team. Like we won districts. I don't think we lost a district meet while I was there. We won regionals several times. I don't remember exactly how many. And there was one year we this close to states, winning this whole state, but Liberty Christian Academy, a private school, came in and won. It's a touchy subject, but like having them, it like again they helped motivate me. Those are two of the hardest working people I've ever met in my entire life.
That's what's up, man.
Ed in particular would literally work out. I don't think he's missed a day of working out ever. Like literally in high school, like we would have the hardest workout of the day. He'd go back and he'd be doing his little beach ball like with Sean T. He'd be doing his workouts at night, like just grinding. Like those two dudes are where I got my work ethic from, like no question.
And that's what's needed, man.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And that's going to tap into the next thing because you know you saw something that they instilled in themselves, right? So they instilled that work ethic in themselves, and then you tapped into that, right? So. You know, going into, knowing that they already left school. Yeah. Now you're going into your junior year, right? Yeah. So knowing that, you're going to hear me, I'm going to piggyback off of like going back to your soccer because in your head, you still a soccer player.
Oh, yeah. At that point, yeah.
You still that athlete you still someone that want to be on that soccer field. Like, hey, I know I can play D1. I know I can do it. Well, and those are the conversations we had, we had that. Yeah. We'll tap into that. But going into your junior year, right? All the accolades and things that you was already doing from a freshman up to that year. What was some of the most challenging situations you had to deal with knowing that you was by yourself?
Oh my God. Track and field is a very individual sport.
Correct.
Just as it is. You versus you. In my whole life I've done sport. Yeah. There it goes right there. Me versus me. Come on, my entire life I've done team sports, and so you kind of had a team to fall back on. And even my freshman and sophomore year, I had a team to fall back on. I had Ed and Frank to fall back on. So this was the first year I felt completely isolated. I was workouts. I worked out completely by myself. Like I would have a completely separate workout from the rest of the team. I would be doing like repeat 600s when everybody else had like 150s or something like that. It was crazy. And so I found the motivation. I felt like I had no motivation at that point. Like my only motivation was to be the best. Like that was it. And at that point, like I wasn't even looking at going and running in college. Like that wasn't even really like a thing in my head. Like to be 100% honest with you, I thought about that in soccer, but I was thinking like Olympic team. I wasn't thinking about college. And so like it never really occurred to me that, I probably could go to college with this. And so like that junior year was my most that junior year is probably my most difficult mental year of all time. Like I don't think like that year kind of shaped who I am like today. And I think that year and being able to make it through that year got me to where I am. And it's so crazy because like indoor, I always ran the 300. And like I said, I was a 400 meter runner. Indoor in Virginia, they had the 3 and the 5. So indoor in junior year, I ran the 300. And I'm pretty sure I won the state that year. And whatever. I mean, I had the school records and all that stuff. Like I had the accolades. Like it was cool, but like it was there wasn't enough for me, I guess.
I got you.
And so like that grind, like it felt different without the two of them, and neither of them were close. Like, well, Ed went to George Mason, and then Frank went down to Virginia Wesleyan. So, I had saw him over the summers, and I would text him every day, but it wasn't the same.
I got you.
And so the hardest piece easily was just that mental piece, just continuing every day, like, and the thing that like track workouts suck. Like I would sit there, I would be in class, insane, I would text, and I don't know what it is, but track coaches always do this thing where they don't tell you what the workout is, because like Coach Lansdowne, like he was my coach after Coach Shep left, and Lansdowne, his classroom, he worked at the school, so his classroom's on the fourth floor, and I would go up there and be like, yo, Lansdowne, what's the workout today? He would not tell me, and I could, like, all right, cool, today would be a hard day, and like next day's a rest day, but he wouldn't tell me what the workout was, so I couldn't mentally prepare. So I'm just sitting there, bro. I'm thinking diet, hydration, and rest. My three things. My Coach Shep used to always drill diet, hydration, rest. So I'd be sitting there in class drinking water. I had 2 lunches a day. I would eat my packed lunch that I would have. Then I would go and I'd get lunch at the cafeteria, and I would just like, man, I would think about everything that I was putting into my body. I was like, man, if I put in like one bad thing, like this workout is gonna suck that much worse. Like it consumed every like thing in my brain. It was crazy. It is an unbelievably mentally challenging sport. It's crazy.
But touch on that, because you got a lot of kids that will break.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of kids in that situation, Todd would break. Yeah. So what's that message, man, that you gave to yourself so you didn't break? Because I mean, it was breaking points, right? You know, like you were already telling yourself, I can't eat this, but you wanted it, right? Dude. So you understand how to like understand wants and needs, right? So I might want this, but my body needs this. Yeah. So I might want this, but my mind needs this. Tap in on that, man. Like, explain that to the world, man, to the viewers.
It's so crazy. Like, I can't even like. It's so crazy. Like I was so locked in on that sport. Like I was so focused on track and field. Like I didn't have a social life. Like I had my long-term girlfriend Molly that I met freshman year. It was, my social life was hanging out with her and going to work. Like that was it. Every other waking moment was spent focused on track. And so like it's just this thing. I've always had this thing in me where like I will do everything possible to be the absolute best I could possibly be at this thing. And like I knew that in track, the thing to differentiate me was like I knew like in high school, I mean I was small now, but I was like 130 in high school. I was shorter than I am now. Like, and 400-meter runners are notoriously like 6 foot and up. They got these crazy strides. Sprinters in general are freaking built. So I knew I didn't have that piece, but I knew I had the work ethic and I had the discipline to, all right, like I'm sleeping every night. Like I went to bed, like I'm talking like 9, 10 every night. I made sure that I was drinking enough water, that I was recovering well, that I was eating well. And like, it's just like, that competitor in me, I did not want anybody to be better than me. I didn't want to give myself anything less than the absolute best. Like I didn't want to put anything but my best foot forward. And I knew that it would take all those little minute things for me to be as good as I could have been and as good as I ended up being. But it was just straight work.
It was work though, right?
Straight work.
So you mentally locked in and you tapped into a whole. Once again, you flipped that switch, right?
I had to,
Flip that switch to be able to tap into your, I call it your inner self, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So like you had to like mentally lock in completely on a whole nother like athletic scale, right? But also like emotional scale, right? Like so, because it's emotional draining knowing that you gotta mentally do it, right? So which gets into your senior year, your recruiting year, your junior year was your recruiting year as well. Now you knowing that, hey, I'm going to school for track.
100%.
I'm going to school for track. Like, it was nowhere around it. And then like I said, I've been knowing you since your freshman year, but of high school, but didn't know you until your freshman year of college. So before we get to that, like wrapping up your junior to your senior year, right? Like knowing what you had to do, what was the schools that you was thinking that you was going to end up going to? Like,
Yeah, no, I'll never forget the first offer I had was Naval Academy junior year. And that was my first kind of eye opening. I was like, all right, we're in there, right? Naval Academy wanted me bad. Like junior year, that was my very first offer. And then senior year, indoor, best senior year indoor I ever had. I transitioned to the 500 that year.
Okay.
And I ended up winning the 3, the 5, and the 4x4 at states. Set the state record in both.
Okay.
And like went
Still
crazy.
You still got that?
Nah, dude,
Oh,
dude came in and beat me like 2 years ago. Like I had the facility record for a little while. It was tough. I was in there. But that was my best year ever. But after that, like then I started like getting really heavily recruited. Like people were starting to take notice. And so I got a bunch of offers. Several D1, like smaller D1 schools, a lot of D2 schools. But my biggest two that I was focused on were George Mason and UVA.
Okay.
And one thing that I also think that I try to tell people all the time, like that are moving into the next level is like, especially in track, you're not going, if you go pro for track, you're not making any money unless you are the tippity top. And I had enough self-realization that I'm not the tippity top. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew in high school that I wanted to do cybersecurity. Okay. And so my two schools that were, heavily recruited, like Brian Fetzer from Coach Fetzer from UVA, talked to him a ton. I did an official visit to UVA, and then I toured that campus, and I met with Coach Fetzer probably 4 or 5 times. Like I was locked into UVA. Like that was like low key the school I wanted to go. I loved my visit. I went on Halloween. I'll never forget it. Campus was awesome. I ended up going to like a Georgia Tech UVA game. It was cool having a football team there. Like it was huge. Their basketball team was really good at the time. The atmosphere was crazy. The atmosphere is insane. It's crazy. They took us into JPJ, John Paul Jones Arena, and that's where like the athletes like study hall was at, like lockers, and it's nice. Everybody's locker had names on it. It was fancy. It was all the flashy. It's ACC school, right? It's a big school. So yeah, recruited hard there. The one thing they didn't have was cybersecurity. They didn't have anything even close. They had computer science, which was sorta, but they didn't have cybersecurity.
Got you.
So then George Mason came along, Coach Bungard, and I ended up doing an official visit to Mason. I got to meet some of the people, again, I would end up being teammates with. Rico Gomez, Evander Pierre was my host. And so like I'll never forget that visit. But obviously George Mason is not anywhere near as flashy. It's in the A10. It's a mid-major. They don't have like the facilities that UVA had, except they had an indoor track, which UVA didn't have. But the one thing that they had above all else was a cybersecurity program. And I went and I met with the dean of the cybersecurity degree. Her name was Peggy Browse, and I just sat down and talked to her. I was like, hey, like, what is this degree all about? Like, kind of run me through it. And she kind of was like, yeah, like we kind of built this thing from the ground up. I talked to the NSA, CIA, all these people. Like, what do we need to get these kids ready to go and graduate college ready, like to enter the workforce? So I was like, I want to go to George Mason. And like that was pretty much like that paired with my official visit. I was like, no, I'm sold.
So you already knew where you was going.
I was like, I'm going there. And then it's close to home. My girlfriend at the time, her whole family went to Mason, so I'd already been involved. Like I had been going to the George Mason games for a couple years, because her dad's a season ticket holder, and so those kinds of things. I was like, cool. Like I was familiar with Mason. I loved my visit. I loved the team. I loved the atmosphere. That's the other thing too. I made a lot of friends on that UVA team when I went. The atmosphere at George Mason was different. It was I don't know, the bond, the family feeling felt a lot tighter than it was at UVA.
It's crazy, man.
And so yeah, then I ended up at Mason, which is,
that starts the next journey, right? You know how long I've been an employee at George Mason, and alumni, but that freshman year coming into George Mason, like I told you, I was dealing with a task.
Yeah.
And that task was coming to me from my brother Nick, and he hit me. He told me, hey man, take care of him. Yeah. And it was like, I said, no, I'm pretty sure he's going to end up taking care of this old man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to end up taking care of me. But I think that, that leads to understanding what type of athlete you is ready to become on a D1 level.
Yeah.
Right? So you spoke on, some of the hosts, and then Rico, the guys that was there. You know, a lot of people didn't know. Like Dave Verber was like a stud. You know, hopefully Dave, you listening to this, man. One of these days here, Tom, and you come in and probably can be a guest on the show as well, man. We love it.
Yeah.
But I saw something in you that I saw in Dave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As a young guy, a freshman coming in, and then, you know, you got there, and what set you apart, what I think a lot of people don't understand about D1 athletes, a lot of D1 athletes don't have time to work.
Feel that. Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah.
You found time to work.
Yeah.
And be a D1 athlete without a drop off. Explain to people your freshman year coming in, working 40 hours.
I was working a lot.
50 hours every 2 weeks.
This man had me working, bro.
You know, and never missed a workout. And you was on top of your workouts. And you came in as a freshman and you ran practice.
Yeah.
Speak on that.
Yeah. Again, like it's all coming back, right? Like I was talking about, like, because I left soccer, the sport that I loved, I'm going all in on track. Everything I have. And so I have like a natural tendency to kind of lead by example. That's the way I like to lead. I'm not like I'm gonna tell you what to do. I'm not like a dictator type beat. Like I'm much more of like, cool, just like I'm gonna do me. Yeah. You know, if you wanna get to where I'm at, like follow me. Well. And so like I just kind of started naturally getting to that point freshman year. Like I remember distinctly, we used to do these interval workouts where coach would give us like these little timers, and then we would just like, 3, 2, 1, like next rep, whatever. And so like I started asking coach like, hey, I'll time. And so like gradually, like I would. The other thing too is workouts. Like I always wanted to be at the front. Like I got this tattoo, uncomfortable, and it stems from track. Every single workout, I wanted to be slightly uncomfortable, because if I was slightly uncomfortable, then I was pushing myself to be better.
Correct.
And so warm-ups, I would be slightly uncomfortable during my warm-up. I would, I'm not going to kill the warm-up, but I'm going to be slightly uncomfortable. And you can ask, man, probably the chat kids are watching this, but like that I ran with, but they hated me doing warm-ups. Like they hated me during like workouts in general, because like I think I brought another level of intensity just because like I wanted to be the best. And I knew that I had to train harder than, I wanted to be the hardest working person in that room. Correct. And that extended not only there, but also in work. Like it's the type of person that I am. I like making sure that like if I do something, like I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, give it 110%.
And so like I didn't want to let you down. Like he gave me a job freshman year. Like not a lot of athletes, like he said, not a lot of athletes get a job, because like people realize like this dude's like being an athlete, a D1 athlete is a full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Like I have practice 6 days a week. I have if I don't have 6 days a week of practice, I'm pretty much running 7 days a week because I have meets and stuff. So you worked around my schedule, and it wasn't I wasn't the first athlete that you had. So you were really
so I understood it.
Yeah, you were really great to work with, because you understood. I'm like, hey, look, like I got practice at this time, but I can come in at 8 and I can work from 8 to whatever, and then I can go to class and I go to practice. And so like because of that, like I was able to have a job. I was able to have that like kind of money. But also I was able to kind of have that. It just helped instill more of that work ethic.
Yeah, it's independency,
independence, work ethic. Like I don't know. I was grinding. But freshman year was also hard.
Yeah, it was tough.
Freshman year of college is not a joke, kids. Like, let me tell you something.
Speak on it, man. Speak on it, man. Like, let them know, from your standpoint.
Hey, man, I'm gonna keep it as real as possible. Yeah. Freshman year of college, I was a good student in high school. Never had any problems. I graduated like a 3.8, whatever. Like I was good at high school. Like I genuinely could not tell you what time I studied, and that's not a good. Don't do that. Study, like definitely study. But it was easy for me. It wasn't too hard. So I took that same mentality to college. Gotcha. Oh my God, don't do that. Build those study habits now, because when you get to college, you won't get screwed like I did. I had my freshman year. Getting adjusted to track. Again, like I told you, that is a full-time job in and of itself. We had 8 hours of study hall a week. I had track, I had work, and then I had school. And then school is different in college. You have, especially freshman year, like you're in gen eds that have 200, 300 people in them, where the teacher doesn't know who you are, and you don't really know who they are, you have to find it within yourself to apply yourself. And again, I was always good at school. So like I was just like, okay, cool. This is be easy. I failed calculus. I think that was freshman year, first term. I think I failed calculus 1. Mind you, I took AP Calc the year before. Still failed it. And then I failed the next semester. I failed my first computer science class. And that is the first time I had ever gotten a grade below a B in my life. And I failed. And it's like it was a very big wake up call for me. Like, college is not a joke. School is completely different. I've got to make sure I find that academics are important. I need to make sure that I'm locked in on school. And again, I want to do cybersecurity. And that was my goal. That's my passion. And it wasn't like I hated school or anything like that, but like it was way different. And like teaching styles were different and those kinds of things are different. And so I'm keeping it as real as possible with y'all because like, you know, there are a lot of people that go into college and they're fine. They're good. They're whatever. But me, no, I struggled. Like, don't get it twisted. Like I had my career. It was good. And I ended up graduating and I got like I graduated and I passed. I had like a 3.2, 3.3 or whatever. I was able to get it up, but like it was hard.
But you had to recover from your freshman year,
back.
right? Your freshman year was a recovery year, right?
Yeah,
and then
100%.
it's funny because then your freshman year, like I think the A10 started to understand who Tyler was, you know, and then the George Mason, you know, the other sports that was there understood who Tyler was, right? You know, they knew it. I mean, the whole thing around the department was just like, yo, you need more Tylers, man. You know what I mean? Tyler, not only is he a great athlete, but he's working his tail off, you know? Yeah. And then, you know, I got in a lot of trouble, you know, because they thought that I was just working you, just to work you, right? And I was just like, nah, he's a student first, then he's an athlete. Yeah. Work is not even an option if he doesn't apply himself in those two.
That's 100%.
You get what I'm saying? I was like, yo, they was like, what? I was like, he's a student first, then he's an athlete. He's not an athlete student.
Nope.
You know, I said he's not a worker in the student. He is not that person. So, and that was me helping find the balance. You know, for you, right? You know, I 100%. I had a lot of athletes work for me and throughout my 19 years in athletics, right? Yeah. But I always try to find this balance for them, right? You like in the workforce and everything you talk about now is a work-life balance, right? It's really, really difficult. Work-life balance is really, really difficult, right? Yeah. And understanding what your accolades were your freshman year, speak on that before we tap into like your sophomore and junior year.
So freshman year, right? Again, similar to we had Noah on earlier, and Noah had a similar story. Like he was top dog in high school. I was top dog in high school for my sport, and again, track's a more individual sport. So I knew like, okay, look, I'm gonna work as hard as possible. But you're still going in at the bottom of the heap. I'm a freshman, like still like, hi, this dude, right? And so that's why immediately I stepped on. I was like, I want to be a leader. And then freshman year indoor, I ran the 400. No, I ran the 500 actually. That's when I went back to the 500. And I actually ended up getting second to Rico in the A10 my freshman year, which was crazy. I ended up winning that indoor A10s. That first one, I ended up winning Rookie of the Year.
That was tough.
And so that was really big for me. That made me feel really good because I was like, I'm putting in that work. Like I want to work. And luckily too, I had Rico Gomez to look up to. I had like Junius. I had Evander. Like I had people that I was like, but like it was more like I was looking up to them. But I'm also like, one of the things that I learned from one of my coaches is never be in awe of another athlete. Like never be in awe of your competition, because if you're in awe, you've already lost. And like I remember our first meet in New York. We had a meet up at Ocean Breeze Track, and that was my first time racing an Olympian. I raced Chaz Bateman. He's a 400 meter hurdle Olympian. I think he's like a silver or gold medalist, but he's really good. And I ended up racing him head to head in the 500, and that's all I can think about. I was like, I'm not going to be in awe of this dude. I'm not going to be in awe of this dude. He beat me, but I believe that meet I PR'd. And so like I just always had that little thing in the back of my head, like, oh yeah, I'm never in awe of anybody. Like, yeah, cool, you can be the fastest dude in the world, but like I'm here.
I gotta compete. Compete.
Yeah. And so so that freshman year, like again, like Rookie of the Year, that was really sick. Indoor, and then outdoor. When I entered the team, there was a lot of 400 meter runners there. So my coach was actually trying to find like other ways for me to be able to run at the A10 meet, because the way it works at A10s and a lot of the conferences for track is you can only take 35 people, and you can only have 4 people per event. And the 400 had 4 people already. I wasn't one of them. And I hadn't yet reached the point, because I ran the 500 indoor. I hadn't yet reached the point where I was beating any of these people out to run into that meet. And so my coach was trying to make me a 400 hurdler so I could run at A10s, because he wanted me to be a contributor at A10s. And 400 hurdle practice did not go well. I was too short. I was fast. Like I could jump over the hurdle, but I was there. That thing tall as me. But then like some opportunities opened up. People got injured. Other things happened, and then I was able to run at the A10 meet. I ran the 400. I ran the 400. I made finals, and then I ran the 4x4 as well. So like just being given that opportunity was huge. And then, one thing led to another, and I ended up actually getting to go to the regional team as a freshman. And so the way it works in track is like, you'll have your conference meet, and that's like kind of that's like the creme de la creme every year. That's what you're looking for. You're looking to try and win that. But then like beyond that, postseason stuff is your regional meet. So they call it the Eastern prelims. It's for nationals, and then if you make it out of that, you go to the national level. So it's a pretty big meet, and I ended up getting to go there as a member of the 4x4 and getting to run, and that was crazy. It was like I was a freshman. I was like, this is nuts. Again, I'm back running with some of the literally, again, never be in all of your competition, but like these are the dudes that I'm watching on TV. Like, yeah, these are the dudes that are literally like in your world championship races, in your Olympics, and all that other stuff. I'm racing against them. I was like, this is crazy, and it changed my whole mindset. But yeah, that was it. Freshman year it really set the tone.
That's what I say. Your freshman year was a journey, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like coming in knowing that I got 4-5 guys that I'm behind.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. Then, like you say, you tapped in about Noah. Noah was coming in and he was behind 2 or 3 guys at Michigan State, right? But the thing that separates you 2 guys, in my opinion, is that wasn't the end goal, right? That wasn't something that was going to derail you from what was important, right? You already knew that it was going to be an uphill battle,
100%,
right? But opportunity presented itself, right?
Yeah.
So I always say this, and then one of my mentors said this to me. He said, a goal without a plan is just an idea.
That's tough. Facts.
You understand me?
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
A goal without a plan is just an idea.
Tough,
so
man.
most people don't understand that, right?
Yeah.
So when it came to you, your goal was to come in and be recognized for your skill set, for what your we call it attributes, what you able to bring to the table, right? Your plan was to make sure that you got in the lineup to be able to showcase your skills, right? So they had an idea.
Yeah.
You had a goal and a plan.
Yeah, facts.
Right? So, which leads into, y'all end up winning A10 that year.
Yeah, we won
A10 that year.
Indoor and outdoor.
Yep, you won them both back to back.
Yep.
And then we go into your, where your sophomore year was I would say, y'all still was like top dogs, right?
Yeah.
But going in, the guys that was around you. This is me speaking, right? That I don't think that a lot of injuries and stuff started playing a factor, which can take away from a lot of the preparation.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So coming off of a A10 championship, knowing the injuries and knowing that just that work grind wasn't there as a complete team that you probably would have wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it wasn't there. It was just injury stopped it from being the focal point of going back to back.
Yeah, that year was definitely, it was easily my worst year of college. Well, second worst year of college. But sophomore year was kind of like, for me, it was like, that's where I had to find that another level. Cause like looking back on my sophomore year, I ran well. Again, I got second in the A10 and the 500. I made it every single time. I made it to finals for every one of my races that I ever was in at the A10 level. So I always scored. But I never PR'd that year. I just kind of was, I was all right. And that was kind of the idea of the whole team. Is like everybody was like, all right. And so again, my mentality, like I'm not here to be okay. I'm not here to be all right. Like I'm here to be the best.
Not being average.
Yeah, and so like that's one of those things. It's funny. Like my high school yearbook quote was work until you no longer have to introduce yourself. That's that was like the only thing that's in the back of my head every single time. Like work till you no longer have to introduce yourself. And like that's where I got. That's where I
say that one more time. Say it one more time.
Work till you never have to introduce yourself. Like that's my that was my yearbook quote in senior year of high school. Like that was my thing. And it's a confidence. It's not a cockiness. It's like a belief in myself. Like like I know I can do this. And so sophomore year, yeah, man, that was a rough year. I mean, did we win A10? We won A10. I can't remember if we won A10. We didn't win A10s indoor. Know that for sure. And then I think we won A10s outdoor that year because we were at.
Went back to back.
We went back to back, and then we went. That was at Rhode Island, and then no, it wasn't at Rhode Island. It was at home. Whatever. We didn't win A10s that year, I don't think. And so I'm bugging. I think we won A10s outdoor.
Back to back,
we went outdoor. No, because we went indoor, then we went outdoor, and then we lost indoor, then we went outdoor. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, so we did win. You're right. Back to back. Yeah, he kept saying it. How does he know my thing better than I do? Nah, like, that's how locked in I was. But nah, so yeah, we won. Then we won. Yeah, because we ended up with 3 of those things. But yeah, so we ended up winning, but it was difficult. It was a grind. Everybody had to chip away, and so that was huge. But yeah, sophomore year was definitely like kind of like the most mediocre year, I'd say.
I got you. But that didn't stop you though. You know what I'm saying?
Hell no. It made me hungrier.
It made you go in the off season and say, hey, you in the weight room.
Oh, that off season.
Like you was in there getting stronger and you felt it too. Oh, yeah. But everybody on your staff was getting stronger, getting bigger. But it's a different type of. I always say track speed is different. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Y'all got that straight on speed. Yeah. Y'all been in that same curve. That left knee is dying. You know what I'm saying? Like, that left knee going like that. Your left leg crying, is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So track speed is different. Yeah. Right. So we go into your, that junior year of college, right? So that junior year was really, 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 really where your body started to go like, okay, what am I doing? What do I need to do? Oh my God. What am I eating? Yep. So speak on that before we get into, into your senior year,
Junior year was the best year of my life. Like, I'm not joking. Like, junior year of college was the best year of my life. The meets were insane. The atmosphere was insane. It was the year before COVID. We didn't know that yet, but that entire year was just different.
They went to Miami without me.
We went to Miami every year without you. But like, yeah, that was our home spring meet every year. But like, I mean, that was my first individual A10 championship. I won indoor 500. I'll never forget. I'm actually gonna get a Robot tattoo because I was listening to this one song called Robot by John Bellion, and I had that shit. I had it on repeat at that meet as up in Rhode Island. I'll never forget it. But like, that was my first A10 championship. Individually, felt great. We were really close to making it to regionals indoor or nationals indoor for the 4x4 that year. I had made it. I cracked the top 10. I don't remember where I ended in the 500. Somewhere in the middle of the pack, but like I ended up running like a 103.8 or 103.5 in the 500. Like really, like just kind of peaking. I felt it. Like everything felt like there was chips were falling in place. And then that year I broke through in the 200. Like I was finally like feeling really strong and really good about the 200. And that was kind of a theme for the entire my entire like career was like, if I can get my 200 time faster, I'm gonna be way better than the 400. I'm gonna just be quicker because I always had the endurance. I just never had that. I wasn't as fast. Correct. I had speed, but I wasn't like So that's when I started realizing, I had that next level speed now. And so that year just rolling.
Insane year.
This stupid, and I ended up breaking my PR the 400 by a ton. A10s outdoor. We went 1, 2, and 3 in the 400. Me, Rico, and Evander. Rico went stupid. I got second. I ran 47.10, which is like, if you had asked me if I was going to run that fast freshman year or sophomore year, if you had asked me if sophomore year if I was going to run that fast, I probably would have told you yes, but I don't know if I would have believed it at that point. Because like, I was like 47 high. It wasn't going things, but like 2010, I was like, damn, like now I'm rolling. And so that went really well. 4x4, man, like that was the year.
Yeah, because y'all end up y'all end up going to nationals.
We ended up going to nationals.
You know what I mean? Which was huge, right? I mean, y'all was running. You know, I think you ran, and then it's crazy because I always follow you. You know what I'm saying? So you ran like the fastest split.
Yeah, I was lead
You
leg.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you ran. You
you
know how they say you run? You were run.
I was
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Rico, shout out Rico Gomez. Like that dude ran. He split 44. He
was moving.
But nah, like that whole year was just crazy because like we ended up going to Penn relays, and that's the thing about the 4x4 that year. We had like 3 different people. So it was me, Vander, Rico. Us 3 were on the team. But then we had Korn ran at one time. We had Decker run at one time. We had Junius run at one time. Like it was that other leg was interchangeable. So we were like, it was just one of those years. Like everything else was going well. Like individually things were going really well for me. But like 4x4, I never was like, nah, we're not going to nationals. Like you asked me that, I would literally be like, there's always a chance. Again, I would have told you yes, but I wouldn't probably have believed in myself. But then we went to Penn relays, and huge meet, and Penn relays, like that was. Until nationals, that was the craziest atmosphere I've ever been in track. It's up at University of Pennsylvania. It's in a freaking bowl, and there are like thousands and thousands of people staring right down on you, screaming. Oh my god! Like it's nuts. It felt good. So like I actually was running the 4x1 that year too. But I ran the 4x4 there. We made it to Championship of America, which is like the higher level for the 4x4. And dropped the baton on national television, on NBC4 actually. Me and Decker dropped the baton on national television in front of thousands of people and millions of people watching on. So that didn't feel good. But from that point on, I was like, no, we're not doing that again ever. That was the first time I dropped the baton in my entire life. But that atmosphere was crazy. And I was like, man, I need this again. Like, we need this again. And so we ended up hitting the regional qualifier. That year was in Jacksonville. Literally 2 minutes ago, I was watching my team run there again this year. And we ended up we brought Decker and we brought Junius. Decker is a pole vaulter, like pole vaulter and a 400 meter hurdler. Fantastic runner, fantastic person. One of my favorite people at George Mason. Like Decker, if you're watching this, like huge shouts out to you because literally one of my favorite people. And then we had Junius, who again one of my boys. He Junius is one of my best friends from George Mason. And but he did not run the 4. Dude was a long jumper and a short sprinter, bro. Like the last time he had run the 400 was forever ago. So we brought both of them down to Jacksonville. And it was like kind of a game day decision. We went with Junius that day instead of Decker. And Decker was on the team that helped us get us to regionals, but we kind of had to sit down and we talked about it, and we chose Junius. And that race was insane. It was. I was lead leg. Evander was second leg. Junius was third leg, and Rico was fourth leg. Ended it. Yeah. And Junius and Rico's legs in particular, like Junius, again, having not run the 400 in probably 3 or 4 years, split, I think he split 46 or 45, like unbelievable split, like something that we were not expecting from that leg.
Not at all.
That set the tone. I mean, I've never screamed that hard in my life. And then Rico came around and split 44, got second in the heat, which meant we got an automatic qualifier to go to nationals. And I will literally never forget that moment for the rest of my life. I get chills just talking about that right now. Like it was the best moment of my life. Like I'm like zero questions about it. Like that is the number one moment of my life. And then we ended up going to nationals, and our theme for that was like, cool. Nobody expected us to go to nationals. Like it's George Mason. We again, literally against all odds. We had 3 different people run the 4x4. We had a dude that never ran the 400 in years. And so our motive that entire 2 weeks while we were training was we didn't just get here to get here. Like we're competing. Yeah. So we ended up going to Austin for nationals. Again, biggest stage I've ever been on in my life. We ran the 4x4. It was crazy. It went really well, except I got us disqualified because I stepped on the line like 3 consecutive times or something like that. And it kind of crushed me. I mean, that crushed me because, like, again, you go from this ridiculous high 2 weeks before to now I feel like I let my team down. Like, Rico, Junius, Evander, they were all seniors. They were leaving. So I was like, dang, like, that was their first time going to nationals. We went to nationals, and I got us disqualified. And so, like, I remember in the restaurant that day, like, when we were leaving the stadium, we didn't know what had happened. We had seen that, like, our time that wasn't up there, and we got a DQ, but we didn't know what was going on. So our head coach, like, kind of protested it. And then came back and was like, yeah, like, lead leg, which was me, stepped on the line too many times. And I just remember going to the restaurant, like, afterward, and I apologized to them. Like, I was just like, yo, like, it's my bad, bro. It's my bad, guys. And, like, none of them were like, man, it's no big deal. Like, we still got here. Like, we still ran. We still competed. Like, had that not happened, like, I think we would have gotten, like, 12th in the country, which is just, like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so it was still a really great season, but I like that's something I always think about.
You hold on to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you holding on to it. You know, it's crazy that you hold on to it. That's what real competitors do, right?
Never thought
about it. But we hold it, but we use it.
Oh, 100%.
Which tap into your senior year, which, you know, it was funny because senior year, it was your COVID year, so we call it a reclass year, right? You know, you could have graduated, you know, so you want another opportunity to get out here. We get that call. We at work. Everybody got to get out of the building.
Yeah,
we at work. Everybody,
we were there. They're like, you guys got to go.
You got to get out the building. And I'm like, all right. So we had to rush everybody out the building. And then I'm told that, Mike, you can't have any employees work for you.
Yeah, no.
Nobody can work for you. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So that was one of the most difficult times because we saw each other every day for 7 days.
Yeah.
7 days.
Yeah, I know.
So knowing that I was not able to see you guys, see you work, talk junk to you guys, you know, watch and learn from you guys for 5 months. Like, it was 4 months. It was a long time. And then knowing that you came back in that summer of COVID, you know, you still worked.
Yeah, I worked the whole time.
You was working. Your body was in shape, but you end up taking another semester so you can compete again.
Yeah, 100%.
And which leads into it, because to me, I think it was a test. This is when you was being tested.
Well, like,
the seniors, you was being tested. So speak on that, because the injuries, you know, just the mindset, just knowing that you was at a breaking point. Speak on that before we get into the end of the episode.
Yeah, now, like, my senior year, hardest year of my life. Junior year, easiest, right? Oh, my favorite, my best. Senior year, indoor. Again, this is my senior year. No idea about COVID, right? I tear my quad. And I was like, I'm running at 810. So what do you mean I'm not running at 810? I've never been injured before in my life. I don't have injuries. I've been kind of bulletproof. Tore my quad. And so we just it was early in the season. So then we just start checking meets off. Okay, cool. We're going to get you ready by Boston. Boston comes and goes. Okay, we're going to get you ready by New York. New York comes and goes. And I'm like, well, the only meet left is 810s, and there's no way I'm not running at that. 810s comes and goes. And again, it's my senior year. I am destroyed. That not being able to run at that meet destroyed me. We lost that meet. The George Mason lost that meet by 2 points. I would have won the 500. And so, like, I'm just like, I let my team down. I was like, we lost. I wasn't there. We lost. Goes a lot. That's pretty egotistical. But, like, in my head, that's all I could think about. And that destroyed me. So then I was like, all right, I'm coming back. At 810s, the day after 810s was the day we all got sent home.
Man.
And at that point, we didn't know what was going on. We knew COVID, obviously, and then that was spring break. So we were like, okay, cool, like spring break or whatever. Then we get the call that, like, yeah, no, the sports are done. School's moving online. And I'm like, what do you mean sports are done? Like, that's my senior year. Like, this is it. And I just, like, working to come back off injury. And it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. And, like, I remember talking to my coaches. I remember talking to you. And, like, we were deciding back and forth, like, you know, number one, we didn't even know if I would have eligibility, like, how that would all work. Because I didn't redshirt any years. It was, like, the most difficult time for a lot of people. But, like I mean, I felt it as well. And we made the decision I made that decision like, hey, I'm gonna come back for my 5th year, which academically was like we had to kind of figure that out because I didn't really have enough classes to do it, but we had to kind of figure that out. And then emotionally, like all right, cool, like this is it, like, let's do it. I didn't have it. I did not have eligibility for indoor. So indoor, I run attached for a couple meets, but like just straight training, like just getting ready for outdoor. And I was ready to go. And then first meet outdoor, my 5th year, pull my hamstring. I am not a crier, but that moment, I remember looking at my trainer Cheryl, and Cheryl, if you're watching this, like you were one of the things that got me through my 5th year, like for sure. And I remember that moment, man. I came through 300 meters, came off the turn, felt it, tried to finish, couldn't, and I kind of hobbled across the line, fell off the side of the track. It was at NC State. And my trainer came running out, and I was like, this is the hardest moment of my life. And then I was like, how are we getting back by 8:10s? And so we started literally the next day. Like we were still at the meet the next day. I was with Cheryl, and we were doing some rehab. We were doing whatever we could. And I mean, I was in with Cheryl every single day. We were doing everything we could. Like she was doing research, trying to figure out like how can we get this hamstring better. I was seeing doctors. I was doing all this stuff. I was running on the underwater treadmill. Like that. The goal was to make it by 8:10s. And then I had to make a really difficult decision come 8:10 time because I still wasn't healthy. I hadn't trained all year. I tried. Every time I would try, like it wasn't getting better. And so like 8:10s comes around again. It's my last. This is it.
Correct.
And I had talked to Cheryl. Cheryl and I were kind of like, could I run at 8:10s? Sure.
You could.
But what was that gonna do to me? The rest of like I was gonna go out. I wasn't gonna be able to run that well. B, there's a potential for me to re-injure my leg even more to the point where it's like, is this worth it?
Correct.
And so we made like kind of a difficult decision where me and her talked, and like she's like, yeah, I think we're it. I think that's it.
You got to shut it down.
And that was the hardest moment of my life because again, track 9 years, right? And I've been saying this whole episode, like I quit soccer to do track, and I wanted to be the best as possible. And I felt like in my head, I didn't feel like I reached that point. And I remember going to Coach Bungard and kind of like, hey, Coach, I got to talk to you. And he knew what was coming, and I knew what was coming. We both cried a little bit. And I remember him saying, he's like, Tyler, he's like, when you did that at NC State, he's like, I knew you were done. And and we were both pushing to try and get you back. He's like, I knew it. And man, that was the roughest day. Like, no question. Like, that was the roughest day of my life.
It's crazy because, like, you know, I felt that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, someone who has, you know, been through injuries, you know, see his little bro, you know, go through something in the last year, you know, coming back, trying to just put his team on his back.
Yeah, man.
You know, being that team, like you said, track is an individual. It's an individual race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta. I mean, it got some, you know, some team races in there, but you gotta race.
Yeah.
You gotta run. You gotta run your race.
Yeah.
And no lie, man, your college career to me, man, you ran your race, man. You know what I'm saying? It didn't end. It didn't end the way that you wanted it to end.
Yeah.
You know, but this story, this journey, it's a young man or young woman out there that are going through what you going through. You had to go through. You know, what's your message to them? You know?
Yeah, find a support system. Find a group that's gonna help you get through it. Cause like if I didn't have you, cause I mean I was in there talking to you every day.
Every day, man.
Like, we would talk about this every single day. If I didn't have Cheryl, if I didn't have my girlfriend Molly, if I didn't have my family, I mean I wouldn't have made it through it. Like there's just no way. And so like even though track's an individual sport, it's not. It took a village.
Yeah,
It took a village, like for real.
Individual events, but it's a team sport. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
and so what I would say is like find your community, find your people, and make sure you thank them because like they don't. You may not realize it until you're done, and if you're in high school, you definitely don't realize it yet. You can say you do, but you don't.
That's true.
How much people do for you, and how much the people that you meet throughout your life like work, and that's why I mean, if I didn't go to George Mason, I never would have met you, and like you have changed my life unbelievably.
I appreciate that. Likewise, I mean, come on now, like I mean, that's just and I never would have met some of my best friends that I have to this day. I never would have got the degree I had. I never would have got the job I have right now. So like everything happens for a reason. Right.
And so I mean, find your community, trust the process. I'm like that, and then I tell us everybody, but stay uncomfortable. Like always be uncomfortable. Yeah. It's not comfortable, obviously, but if you're just slightly uncomfortable every single day of your life, like you're gonna grow more than you ever imagined. So man.
And that's the thing though, Coach Tyler, man. Like you're an unbelievable, young man, right? And I say this in people, and a lot of y'all might not understand this. Like I never looked at Tyler like almost 20 years older, right? I've never looked at, what I mean? I'm not telling y'all my age, but I never looked at Tyler like that. I looked at him as, we was equals, right? I never looked at said, oh, I'm older, you need to listen to me, or you young, you inexperienced on certain things. His mind is very experienced on the things that he wants. And when it comes to the youth development, when it comes to his development, when it comes to how much work he puts in for his profession, and for others' profession, it's insane. The guy's one of the most talented individuals I have ever met. Like, like it's one of the hardest things for me is when I knew he was graduating, I knew I was losing one of the best people that I had ever worked for me. Man. He know that, man. So I was losing that, but I told him, I looked him in his face. I said, yo, our brotherhood is not leaving. Nah. Our brotherhood is going to get stronger, and stronger every day. And that's the way that we able to do what we do. And I think that Coach Tyler explained the heck out of his story, man. And I appreciate you. I think he just gave y'all ins and outs on why he continued to not only be this leader that he is, this mentor that he is for, the youth sports, and not only just youth. I mean, we talking about college athletes. These people still reach out to Tyler for support, for ideas. We are heavily connected, involved in the Mason community. We always going to be that, because not only as alumni, but someone who want to continue to see every sport at Mason grow. Yeah, because our stories, these untold stories, man, is what we was chasing those dreams, man, in the world of sports. Absolutely. And that's how we start the podcast off. And that's how we going to end it. But one of the things that I want to thank Coach Tyler for coming on here and being able to explain his journey, man. Yeah. And I think that was, man, it was powerful to knowing where you come from, your background with your family, your siblings, your grandparents, to your workforce, to your girlfriend, to all of that, man. Like, you never lost sight of what's important. Yeah. Thanks. You get what I'm saying? Thanks, you never lost sight. So in closing, man, like, I mean, just give them, a little bit of what to come from you, with all of the different things. The kid's he's an unbelievable talent. Like I told you, man, he's an entrepreneur and everything, man. Like T. Benson photos, everything, man. Yeah. Anything you need, T. Benson can do. This podcast is not what it is without T. Benson. You know what I mean? He's the one that putting this on his back to be able to help, you young athletes be able to come in here and be able to explain your journey, right? So I want to thank you, but in closing, man, just give them you for a second, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm out here. I love coaching at Second to None. Big shout out to Second to None. I think that the reason I'm so closely with all that is, like, I believe in everything that they do over there, like to a T. Mentorship, making sure the mind's right, making sure the physical aspect is right. That's what I'm passionate about. I coach 2 soccer teams. I coach a travel girls team that's a high school, and I coach a high school team, Fauquier High School travel varsity team. And I mean, watching those girls grow and develop has been one of the most rewarding things that I've ever had. Like I said, I've been coaching since I was in high school. Like I've been coaching for over 10 years or whatever. And so, but like it's the most rewarding thing that I get to do. And that's why, like, I just want to give back as much as possible.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, Second to None Sports, this podcast in particular. That's why, like, when he was talking about this podcast, I'm like, man, of course I'm doing this because, like, this is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
I work with like he said, I work with the George Mason basketball team. I do a lot of like videos for them. I've been working closely with their NIL effort. Like, I just want to see and give back to as many, you know, communities, especially athletes, George Mason, everything as possible. So
yeah,
I'm around. Hit me up.
Yeah, man, he's here, man. Like, hey, man, look, big shout out to Tyler for coming on here doing this thing, man. Like I said, this is going to be a heck of a podcast, man. We just we're not here just to be here, right?
Nah,
you know, we here because we believe in what we're doing. And we believe in the athletes out here that want to get their voice heard. So any athletes out there, you know, please reach out, man. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button.
Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give us a like.
Give us a like. And also, man, just tune in. You know, we got a lot more to come.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of episodes, man, going to end up popping up. We're going to try to get as many as we can in this season. I guess, you know, we was asked this question before. How many seasons are you guys trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Man, we just trying to get through,
get started, man.
Get through episode by episode, but we're gonna continue to grind. But like I said, man, this is another one, right? Another episode of Athletes Vision.
Yep.
And, you know, Mike Nunn,
TB,
we out. We gonna end it the same way all the time.
Yeah, all right,
we
baby.
Out of here, man.
Peace.
Yes, sir.